Yo, whatchamacallit, lick the baby. Hello and welcome everybody. Today we are talking about the fact that being transgender, wait for it, is not a sexuality. Now, if you watch this video, you're probably a smart little one and you already know that, right? But in case you've stumbled upon this video and you did not know that, maybe watch for a few minutes and find out more. Get some knowledge into your brain, okay? So I think it is quite understandable, actually, that many people do mistake a person being transgender or the word trans or transgender as being a sexuality. And there are two main reasons for that, right? And we're going to go over both of them. The first reason is that in our very cool LGBTQI plus acronym, the first three letters of those, right? L for lesbian, G for gay, and then B for bisexual, right? All three of them are related to your sexuality and who you like. And then us little folk come there and, you know, if you have nothing to do with any queer people, with any LGBTQI plus identifying people, right? I would not be mad at you if you just think that everything under that whole banner has to do with your sexuality, okay? Because like many of the letters in that whole umbrella term do, right? So that is thing number one where I can understand where that mistake can come from, okay? The second one, which I think is the bigger one, is one, how being transgender was called in the past. And that one is transsexual. Now, I know nowadays not many people like that word. I would not use that word to describe myself or anybody else who does not use that word themselves. But it is a true thing that for many, many years, transgender or even just the abbreviation trans didn't really exist. There are even some older trans people alive nowadays who still use the identifier and call themselves transsexual, right? And for them, it's not a slur, it's the thing they always call themselves, right? But of course, your own labels, you can only decide them. You can decide only for yourself what you wish to be called, you know? That is like the second thing, right? But here is like the thing. The sexuality in trans still has nothing to do with who you like and who you are into, okay? Let's talk about what the word trans originally even meant. So trans is a prefix that we stole from the Latin language. Because of course we did, because like every cool words we take from the Latins, okay? So in Latin, says dictionary.com, the word trans was used to mean, for example, across, beyond, through, changing thoroughly. And now it starts to make more sense, right? Because if you say transsexual, right? And you have to also remember that in many parts of the world, and back in the day, there wasn't really the word gender. Like if you're born, there it says like sex, and it says sex and then W or M, right? And then you have trans, sex, across, right? So you are across from the thing that was assigned to you. Making sense now? Again, here's the problem. People that do not know what the word trans actually means, that it has like another meaning than to describe a group of people, right? Now they're very confused because they just hear the word sexuality. They think about it, what they know, that sexuality always means who you're into. And then they hear the word trans. So surely transsexuality are people who are into trans people? No. See? And a little thing for you to get the meaning of this, right? You know the word transaction, right? Now let's learn what trans means. We have heard it can mean across, beyond, through. So it is an action across two people, a transaction. Get it? It's starting to make sense now, right? I know, you're a smart little cutie poo-poo. I know that, okay? So that is basically how it is. Another example, the transatlantic, across, beyond, through the Atlantic. The transatlantic express, it goes across, beyond, and through the Atlantic. Starting to make sense? Starting to make sense, right? But of course, nowadays, when you hear the word trans, especially like recently, where it was so much in the news, your brain automatically gets like, that means that group of people. It's the T in LGBTQI+, okay? See? That's easy to get. Now, let's go a bit back, because there were like three major terms what trans people have been called back in the day. And two of them, one that we talked already about, are kind of considered slurs today, and you shouldn't really use them on people unless they say they want to identify it as these terms before, okay? So the first one is transvestite, right? And some older people, and especially nowadays, conservative people really like to use that one as an insult and as a bad word. But like back in the day, people did identify with that word. So it is kind of like, you know how sometimes in history, example, the N-word, are obviously bad insults. And if you're white, you still shouldn't say it. But some of the power of the word got taken back by the black community by using it between themselves, kind of as like a brother, you know, like that. Same with the word queer. It kind of was an insult. Now many people like to describe themselves with it. But it can also happen the other way around, where a word where somebody used it to describe themselves at some point got twisted in a way that it's now bad. And transvestite is one of those words. So you don't really see it that much anymore besides in insults. Then, of course, you have the word transsexual, which we just talked about quite a lot. And that word in particular is still actually quite widely used. I'm pretty sure that in like many countries, the doctors and things like that, when you get like a writing down of them or like from therapists, it won't say like transgender unless it's like a very cool doctor. It will say transsexual. And indeed, on like the letter I got, which I needed to get my HRT, it did say that word as well. So it's still widely used, and some people do like to identify them with that, right? So you shouldn't judge anybody who uses that by themselves. And in case they do use it for you, just be friendly, remind them that that is not a word you want to use for yourself. Then, of course, we have like the newest version of it, which makes the most sense, which is transgender, trans across, across. You are across the gender that was assigned to you. Transgender. Get it? I know, you are so smart today. Yeah, the cookie! So nowadays, people really like to call themselves trans or transgender if they want to use any labels at all. Now, lastly, for this video, I want to go over something, and it's a very nice drawing, okay? I made a drawing for you to understand this, and I don't want to hype up this drawing too much, but it's very good. It's a very nice drawing. I'm so proud of it. And you will love this drawing when you see it. But first, let me tell you that this drawing was inspired by someone whose event I was at in Germany. And that person was basically showing us a lot of like queer children books, because I work in a library, right? And it was like a thing to learn more about those kind of books. Even though I knew almost all the books they showed, I was still interested to go there. And they basically showed a similar picture like the one I'm showing you with a gingerbread person. And let's get into it. So here it is. I didn't disappoint you, right? It's an amazing drawing. So what is important about this one is, if you see at the left side, and this is what most people will see of you, it's the outer appearance, your clothes, your hairstyle, your fashion, etc. Right? That is the whole of your personage. But there are multiple things that describes a person. Now, let's go through all of them, right? There's the appearance, how you choose to clothe yourself, how you choose to make your hair, if you wear makeup or not, if you wear accessories, all of that. Then there's your behavior, which, how do you act? Do you act more feminine? Do you act more masculine? Do you act more androgynous? Do you change it up every second day? Because that's what you like doing. Then there is their own perception in your brain. How do you feel like? Do you feel like that gender? Do you feel like that gender? Do you feel like no gender? Does it change all the time? Do you not want to use the term? That's your brain. Then you have your little heart here. Isn't that cute? I'm very proud of his heart I drew, okay? That is who you are interested in. Am I interested in personage A, in personage B? Is it important to me what like equipment that person has? Is it important to me how that person dresses? Is it important to me how that person behaves? You get where the difference here is, right? Where, for example, the one thing, transgender, is in your brain, right? It is who you want to be. And the other one is who you are interested in. To say it in another word, which I heard described quite a few times on the internet, being trans is being who you want to go to bed as. Being, for example, lesbian, gay, or bisexual is who you want to go to bed with. Alright? Again, being trans is not a sexuality. Then, of course, you have your primary and secondary sex characteristics. Some people are born with them, some are not. Some have one of them, some have two of them. Maybe you even have more, right? But those are the things you are usually born with, and they can change in your life. And then lastly, and I'm very proud of this potato person down here, the perception that other people of you have, right? And now you have to remember that hopefully when a person sees you for the first time, they will not see your primary and secondary sex characteristics. They will not know who you're interested in. They will not know what you think in your brain. They might be able to observe some of your behavior, and they will mostly see your outer appearance, how you choose to clothe. And now, none of those things have to be like stereotypical, right? You can choose to dress feminine, to behave masculine, while having an identity in your brain that is still female, for example, right? You can be interested in a male person, and your primary and secondary characteristic can differ from that as well. You get how you can, it's basically like a puzzle box. You can literally mix and match your little human being, right? And like most of these things, I say mix and match, right? That is like if you were God and create a person, not to be misunderstood. Most of these things you cannot change. You cannot change what primary, secondary sex characteristics you were born. You can choose to do something about it and change them during the duration of your life, but you cannot choose what you start out with. You cannot, for the most part, choose who you are interested in, right? And that is the big overview thing, like what gender you're interested in, what kind of appearance you're interested in, right? You can maybe change in your life what behavior you're interested in, right? But like the bigger picture, you don't just wake up one day and decide, damn, I'm not gay anymore, for example, right? And if for some people, you know, there are stories where back in the day, some gay people sadly got sent to like conversion camps, and they got out there after that, went, got a woman, got married, lived a life. And then these are the people that say like, yeah, I had a face like that as well, but I changed. But then you have to think about, by erasure, that these people never really have been gay. These people have very likely always been bisexual, and their basically side that liked other men has been suppressed by these horrible, horrible practices, right? Again, you can't really change who you're interested in. Then again, your own perception in your brain can't really change either. You know in your brain what you are, who you are, right? Sometimes it's hard to accept, you can work on that, but deep down you can't really change what it is. So both your sexuality and your gender are things that happen from the moment you're born. You know what you are, right? Then the perception of others of you shouldn't really care about them, right? But you can highly influence that by how confident you are. If you're a confident person and you go somewhere, what kind of potato person is going to say something about you? Nothing. They're not going to say anything about you because you're such a very cool, confident person, right? And then, of course, there's your outer appearance, right? That is the one where you go and hop into Infinite Nikki and you clothe your personage however you want. And maybe you wear different clothes every single day. Or maybe you're like a couch potato, like your bestie Shyaren over here. And you're just like wearing the same oversized hoodie every single day because you don't leave the house anyway, you know? You get it? Closing words, being transgender is not a sexuality. I hope I could help you with this one. This one was a video I wanted to do for like a while. And for many of you, it must have been obvious and it would have been obvious. But maybe I gave you some talking points you can use to other people in the future that they, so they can understand, okay? Let's, for today, put, the sun is slowly coming out. Let's put a sun emoji, put a sun emoji into the comments and tell me your favorite piece of clothing. I need to know your favorite piece of clothing and the sun emoji. All right, subscribe, like, bye, next time.